Hello, everyone. Now we would like to start Creative Session 5 on Mercury Waste Management. The session title is Latest Development and Future Perspective on Mercury Waste Management. And the session chair is Ms. Stephanie Laurel. So now I would like to hand over to Stephanie. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving me the floor, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all. It's a great honor to welcome you today for this creative session on latest development and future perspectives on mercury waste management, which is being organized in the context of the Three Rings Conference. My name is Stephanie Laruelle. I work with the UNEP Chemicals and Health branch in Geneva and have the honor to be facilitating our session today. As you know, the Minamata Convention on Mercury entered into force in August 2017 with the objective to protect human health and the environment from mercury. And the convention requires parties to ensure the environmentally sound management of mercury wastes. Most developing countries, however, have been facing challenges with capacities to manage mercury wastes in an environmentally sound manner. And parties, relevant stakeholders from international agencies, NGOs, the private sector and academia have been working together in a number of ways to control the anthropogenic emissions and releases of mercury throughout its life cycle. So we're very excited about this event today, which will be exploring the issue of mercury waste and present some recent efforts that are being undertaken to help address the sound management of mercury waste. So without further ado, let me introduce our distinguished panelists for our session today. You will hear from Ms. Taiko Takahashi from X Research Institute, who will be sharing with us some latest work in the context of the UNEP Global Mercury Partnership and its area of work on mercury waste management. Mr. Terence Thompson from the International Solid Waste Association will be introducing a recent initiative where the partnership and ISVA are joining forces to provide practical tools in relation to mercury waste management. Mr. Mick Saito from the UNEP Regional Office for Asia and the Pacific will be presenting today on mercury science, regulation and waste management. And finally, we'll have the pleasure to hear Ms. Junko Nishikawa from the Ministry of Environment of Japan, who will be delivering some closing remarks. To begin with, let me provide you with a rapid overview of the UNEP Global Mercury Partnership, as all of you may not be familiar with its work. For you to know, there will be an opportunity for question and answer after each presentation, so I very much encourage you to make use of the chat to raise any questions you may have. So I'll be sharing my screen. Michael, could you confirm it's working well?
Yeah, so please make it full screen, please.
Yes, so I'm... Now, is it working?
Not yet. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So to give you a bit of background, UNEP has been working on the issue of mercury for the last 20 years or so, both in the development of science and knowledge on mercury and in support for global policy action. You are, I'm sure, very familiar with the negotiations process of the Minamata Convention, and UNEP has been supporting also its implementation over the last years, and also through the work of the UNEP Global Mercury Partnership, which was initiated in 2005 by a decision of the UNEP Governing Council. The partnership has been playing a key role in helping build momentum for global legally binding instrument on mercury and contributed knowledge to negotiators, other stakeholders and the public during the negotiations process throughout the entry into force of the convention. Examples of such contribution by the partnership include, for example, global inventory of mercury cell chloralkali facilities, as well as guidance to help countries implement their obligations. The partnership works in close collaboration with the convention on a number of issues, and has, for instance, contributed to the upcoming 4th meeting of the Conference of the Parties, with some intersessional work in relation to customs codes, as well as to the guidance document on the National Action Plans for Artisanal and Small-Scale Gold Mining. Its current priority focus are to support the timely and effective implementation of the convention, but also to continue to provide knowledge and science on mercury, and to deliver outreach and awareness raising to support global action. The partnership is open to stakeholders who share the partnership's goal, and it counts today over 230 partners who come from governments, intergovernmental organizations, NGO, industry, the private sector, as well as academia and the scientific community. The partnership is governed by an overarching framework document, which was developed together with governments and other stakeholders, and has subsequently been updated to reflect evolutions, including the entry into force of the Minamata Convention, as well as practices under the partnership. And it contains the operational guidelines, including for a partnership advisory group and partnership areas of work. This slide shows you the organizational structure of the partnership, and I would like to highlight in particular the partnership advisory group, which is currently co-chaired by Rogers Ankra from the United States Environmental Protection Agency, and Therapon Wuritikorn from the Ministry of Environment of Thailand. And the partnership advisory group held a recent meeting on 11 and 14 March, and where it reviewed recent activities of the partnership and its partnership areas, and discussed future priorities. And the partnership reports on its activities also to the Conference of the Parties to the Minamata Convention, and the outcomes of the recent advisory group meeting will be presented in Bali next week at the 4th meeting of the Conference of the Parties to the Minamata Convention. The work of the partnership is organized around partnership areas, which are reflective of the major source of mercury releases category, and a very important area of work is the partnership area of waste management, which also cooperates very closely with other partnership areas, since the issue of waste really is cross-cutting as it comes to mercury. Examples of cross-cutting work that is also undertaken in the context of the partnership are currently on mercury from oil and gas and from non-ferrous metals, in follow-up to decision by the partnership advisory group. And the partnership has been working on the development of study reports with input from experts and a number of stakeholders, and this work was discussed at the recent meeting of the partnership advisory group, including as to the next steps for the partnership to support the issue. And let me highlight, to conclude, the area on mercury waste management, which we'll be discussing in greater details today, and which is co-led by the Ministry of Environment of Japan and Dr. Misuzu Azari from the Graduate School of Global Environmental Studies at the Kyoto University. The objective of the partnership is to promote the environmentally sound management of mercury wastes by developing and disseminating relevant materials, enhancing capacities and awareness, and providing specific solutions. And I'm sure you'll be very interested to hear more about this work in the next presentation. So thank you very much. And I'll be very happy, of course, to respond to any question you may have regarding the partnership and its work. And I do not see any question at this stage, so maybe we can jump to our next speaker, Ms. Taiko Takahashi. Let me introduce Ms. Takahashi before she takes the floor. So Ms. Takahashi works for X Research Institute, where she coordinates a range of activities under the mercury waste management area of work of the Global Mercury Partnership, where she works together with governments, representatives from the industry, academia, and NGOs. And also, Ms. Takahashi also assists countries in their capacity development efforts for the implementation of the Minamata Convention. She has a strong research and project coordination background in sustainable consumption and production, as well as resource efficiency, and has been working with UNEP and the Institute of Global Environmental Strategies. Ms. Takahashi, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. I'm trying to share the screen and then on the full screen. Okay, here it is.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Taiko Takahashi. For the next 15 minutes, I'll be talking about the waste management area of the UNEP Global Mercury Partnership and its work. At first, I'll be starting out with an overview of the waste management area. The waste management area established in the 2008 with over 100 partners. As Stephanie already mentions, the leader of this partnership area is Dr. Mrs. Asari, Associate Professor of the Kyoto University and the Ministry of the Environment, Japan. And we have an honor to have Ms. Junko Nishikawa with this session. The objective of this partnership area is to promote the environmentally sound management of mercury waste by developing and disseminating relevant materials, enhancing capacities and awareness, and providing specific solutions at the global, regional, national, and local levels. The partnerships are the members of the partnerships. As you can see the pie chart on the left side of the screen. Almost half of the partners are from the government and the NGOs. For the regional distribution, Europe together with North America consists of about 50% of the partners. Our partnership area has a priority actions. As you can see on the screens, to identify and disseminate measures to prevent the generation of and promote environmentally sound self-separation, storage, collection, transportation, treatment and disposal techniques and practices for different kinds of mercury waste, taking into account a variety of technological and socio-economic circumstances in different countries. We also have a priority actions on the building capacity and improve awareness for the environmentally sound management of mercury waste on the ground, in collaboration with other partnership areas and organizations at the global, regional, national, and local levels. Identify the specific challenges on mercury waste management for different sectors and stakeholders, and provide corresponding support and or solutions to address them. Support the implementation of national projects for the environmentally sound management of mercury waste and share the experiences and lessons learned to promote mutual learning. And also other activities upon the request of international programs and organizations as appropriate. The next, I'll be talking about focusing on the work of the waste management area. Partnership area meetings. We meet about twice a year. And this year, we already had the one area meeting, which was taking place on February 1st this year. And also we compile the technologies and the services on the mercury waste management in the catalog. I'll be talking about a little bit more details in the later of this catalog. We also develop the resource person list. And also we conducted a survey for the better understanding of the needs of mercury waste management in developing countries. This survey was conducted the last year, which is about 1 year ago. And then we sent out the surveys to the waste management area and other partnership areas to conduct this survey. And we received 41 responses. And then we identified what is the need in the market waste management in developing countries. We do also collaborate with other partnership areas. Most recently, last year in December, we had the joint webinars with Global Mercury Partnership areas in the products. The title was phasing out the mercury-added lamps, and then we introduced some technologies for the waste management technologies. This is a catalog outlook of the catalog which I just talked about. The catalog contains mercury waste treatment technologies and services owned by 12 partners of the waste management area, including the technologies to treat different types of mercury waste. Waste consists of containing and contaminated with mercury. We are in the process of the updating of the version in 2022. That the catalog is updated annually. There is a discussion of the possible digitalizations and mapping of mercury waste treatment facilities. That is still under the considerations and then under the discussion. This is a little bit the small, and then but this is just like showing you the list of the technologies and services in the catalog. We have most of the information is from the industries and the NGOs, and then you can see the keyword of each technologies and services on the right side. As I just touched on that, we conducted the survey on the needs for the mercury waste management in developing countries, and then there are some key findings that we identified from the survey. Among three types of mercury waste specified under the Article 11 of the Minamata Convention, management of the waste containing mercury, which is also called the mercury-added product, is recognized as the utmost challenge. In particular, waste of the fluorescent the lights and measuring devices containing mercury are of the great concern. Management of the waste consisting of the mercury generated from the non-ferrous metal smelting and oil and gas industry, in addition to chlor-alkali production industry, requires distinct approaches compared with other types of the mercury waste. Among waste contaminated with mercury, management of the tailings generated in the ASGM sector should be more focused. Challenges exist at every phase of mercury waste management, especially at collection. Coherent measures over different management phases are important. Type of support requested to the waste management area include capacity building, technical assistance, regulatory arrangement support, development of guidance and tools, financial resources, and project development. These are the findings from the needs survey we conducted. And now, having that needs, waste management area decided to set up the 3 working groups and undertake the waste management area activities for 3 years. The working group 1 we called focusing on the resource development. Working group 2 is a capacity building and awareness raising. And working group 3 is a solution exchange. The working group 1, the resource development, which is like we consider probably the list of the facilities the mercury the waste treatment can be done, and fact sheet on the management of the certain types of mercury waste, and also review the resource person list with expertise on the mercury waste management, and also the developing training materials. Under the capacity building and awareness raising, webinars in collaboration with other partnership areas, which we have already done, and the compilation of the good practices, the mercury waste management, workshop of the specific sectors and the stakeholders. For the working group 3, solution exchange, that's going to be that is a platform for the matchmaking between the stakeholders who need some support and the solution providers who can provide the solutions and giving advice and then from their expertise. This is a little bit more details on the working group of 1, the resource development. We actually currently have a development of the fact sheet is ongoing on the ESM for the certain types of mercury waste. Terence, next speaker, will be talking about with more details on this fact sheet. The working group is led by Nicola from the International Solid Waste Associations. And then you will see the members of this waste management, members of the resource development working group. The working group 2 is focusing on the capacity building and awareness raising. We already had webinars for the treating mercury waste tools and technologies, which was taking place the February 15th this year. And then there is a planning for the organization of the webinars for the oil and gas and the mining sectors and others. Organizations for the joint webinar with the supply and storage areas on excess mercury from the decommissioning of the chlor-alkali facilities. The leader of this the working group is Immaculate Javier from the Sustainable Alluvial Mining Services and Reinhard Schmidt and the Eco Industry Services. And then you will see the member of the working group 2. And the working group 3, solution exchange. That is the establishment of the solution exchange platform, which promotes matchmaking between the stakeholders in needs and the solution providers. This is led by the Mick Saito from the UNEP Regional Office for the Asia and the Pacific. And Mick will be showing up later in this session, but his focus is not really the solution exchange this time, but he is knowledgeable about this the solution exchange. Okay, this is the last slide which I would like to share with you. This is the synergy and then the coordination of the 3 working groups. As you will see that there's the different a range of the activities will be taking place with this the waste management areas. But and then we divided into the 3 the working groups. But that working group is not working independently or separately. There is a coordinations and then the synergies. But always the center of this of our work is a waste management area knowledge and the expertise from the partners. And then this concludes my the presentations. And then thank you very much. And then back to you, Stephanie.
Thank you so much, Taiko, for sharing with us these very interesting insights on the work of the Mercury Waste Management Partnership area, which, as you highlighted, is indeed one of the largest partnership area with over 100 partners. I think it was also very interesting to hear some of the challenges that the partnership area has identified and the actions that are being undertaken to respond to the needs faced by countries and help them meet the provisions of the convention and move towards the environmentally sound management of mercury waste. So let me congratulate you and all the partners on the work accomplished and on the very interesting work planned. So let me open the floor for any questions. To Taiko, please do not hesitate to raise your hand or put a question in the chat if you would like to ask Taiko any question on the work of the partnership area? Taiko, I do not see any question at this stage, but maybe if time allows, we could also take question at the end of the presentations.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Okay, so then thank you again, Taiko, and let us move to our next speaker. It's a great pleasure to welcome Mr. Terence Thompson, who will be sharing with us some of the work carried out in the context of the International Solid Waste Association, ISWA, in cooperation with the Mercury Waste Management Area. So a few words about Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson is a highly experienced international expert with over 30 years of experience in developing countries. And for many years, Mr. Thompson has been the WHO regional advisor for environmental health, first in WHO's Southeast Asia region and later in WHO's Western Pacific region. In his recent work with UNEP and WHO, Mr. Thompson has focused on chemical safety and waste management in the health sector. And he's actually the lead author of 3 WHO publications on health-related aspects of the Minamata Convention and has supported health ministries in several countries. Mr. Thompson is a board-certified environmental engineer and a member of ISWA's working group on healthcare waste, as well as a partner of the Global Mercury Global Mercury Partnership. Mr. Thompson, please, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Let's see now. Start video, yeah. Thank you very much for that introduction, Stephanie. And good evening, good afternoon, good day, and good morning to all the panelists and participants, wherever you are. So appreciate the opportunity to make this presentation. Let me get my screen going here. Just a minute. Yeah. Yeah, excuse me the delay. I'm trying to get the PowerPoints to show. There we go. Share the screen. Okay. So, yeah, we'll be speaking about this activity from the working group on the development of fact sheets on the environmentally sound management of certain mercury waste streams. And this activity flows from the survey that was conducted by the waste management area, which the previous speaker, Taiko, spoke about. Presently, under the Basel Convention, which the Minamata Convention recognizes the technical guidelines on the environmentally sound management of mercury wastes, which is developed by the Basel Convention. And presently, those guidelines are undergoing revision. These guidelines are very technical, very excellent in the technical sense, but there was a feeling expressed through the survey that there are some concerns from developing countries about the use of those guidelines, and there could be a need or there could be some benefit from developing a type of guideline that's more practical. And then from that came the idea of developing fact sheets. So the objective of this activity is to provide practical and comprehensive answers for safe management of relevant mercury waste streams based on some concise and practical fact sheets. How is the work organized? Well, it was elaborated as a dedicated project within ISWA's Hazardous Waste Working Group and it has been developed in cooperation with the Global Mercury Partnership waste management area. So ISWA's working group on hazardous waste, together with the waste management area, are joining forces and expertise to co-author these fact sheets together. This is a roadmap for preparation of the fact sheets. Steps 1 and 2 shown here have already been finalized together with an introductory document. The introductory document is a kind of concept note. But the first step was to develop a list of priority mercury wastes based on certain criteria. We'll see that list in, I think, in the next slide or one of the slides later in this presentation. Step 2 was to develop a template for the fact sheet, which is kind of the structure of the fact sheet. And step 3 is to then actually begin drafting the fact sheet. And it was felt that the group would develop one fact sheet as kind of a learning experience based on the top one priority or the first priority identified by the group. And the fourth step would be to validate the fact sheet by having it peer reviewed, and then to communicate or to disseminate the fact sheet to interested parties. This is the template of the fact sheet as shown here. It has several sections: an introduction describing the particular waste stream, its occurrence, some statistics on occurrence, its risks, links to relevant legislation, and so forth. Its classification, best practices for collection, packaging, label, and transport, and storage. And storage is very important for mercury wastes because we do not want the storage areas of today to become the contaminated sites for tomorrow. And finally, at the end of this chain, there has to be environmentally sound treatment and final disposal. So that is the template or structure of the fact sheets that are being developed. This is the priority list of mercury waste streams, and this was based on the outcome of the waste management areas survey conducted last year, which Taiko spoke about. So out of these various waste streams here that were prioritized, the working group was challenged to select one, which would be the subject of the first fact sheet. And as I mentioned, developing the first fact sheet is kind of a learning experience for the group to see how do we go about it, how do we work together effectively and efficiently. So a lot of discussion was held among the working group members to select what would be the first priority for developing the fact sheets. And it was decided that the first priority, the first fact sheet, would focus on non-electronic measuring devices, those that contain mercury. So for example, mercury containing thermometers, mercury containing sphygmomanometers, barometers, hygrometers, and products in that category. Yeah. The survey showed the following results. These are color-coded, but you can see the survey prioritized almost equally the non-electronic measuring devices and spent products containing mercury. Fluorescent bulbs came in close behind, and then elemental mercury from different activities, and finally waste from industrial pollution control devices. Another way of looking at this survey indicated mercury added products in general were greatly prioritized over waste consisting mercury or waste contaminated with mercury. The working group also considered this graph, which was produced by the Secretariat of the Minamata Convention, based on their analysis of 39 Minamata initial assessments. That analysis identified priority actions. These are priority actions identified by the national governments themselves, the parties themselves. And we saw that in that exercise, the phasing out of mercury-added products and the management of mercury wastes were the top two priorities. So we thought that we were on the right track with this activity and on the right track selecting non-electronic measuring devices as the first waste stream to be the subject for development of fact sheets. So that work is ongoing now. The group anticipates that it will prepare a draft or complete a draft of the first fact sheet within about a 2-month time. And then we will proceed to verification of the draft through sharing it with members of the Global Mercury Partnership itself, and through sharing with other groups. For example, ISWA's working group on healthcare waste, because many of the non-mercury measuring devices are specifically those that are medical measuring devices. The working group is led by Mr. Nicholas Humez. He is the chair of ISWA's Hazardous Waste Working Group. And just to say a few words about ISWA, it's the world's leading network promoting professional and sustainable waste and resource management. It represents all aspects and stakeholders within the waste management sector, including the public, private interests, and academia. It has more than 1,300 members in 109 countries around the world, so it has a very unique global network. That's what I wanted to share with you about the waste management area's activity to develop fact sheets on the safe management of certain mercury waste streams, and I'll be happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Terence, for sharing with us on this very promising work undertaken in collaboration between the ISWA's Hazardous Working Group and the Global Mercury Partnership's waste management area. It's nice to see this very hands-on, I mean, the objective of having very practical tools to support the safe management of mercury waste streams. And I'm sure many of us are eagerly looking forward to the development of these fact sheets and how they may contribute. Do we have any question to Terence at this stage?
Stephanie, so
yes?
we could see some question in the chat box, even for Taiko-san.
Thank you so much, Marco. So yes, I see a question from Mahi. How difficult is the stage of phasing out mercury added products? Are the country laws that become a hurdle in this process? Terence, Taiko, would you like to react to this question? I think in the context of the partnership, the work that is carried out in the area of work on mercury in products, I would also be looking into these aspects. But Terence, would you like to? Yes.
Yeah, well, okay, I'll take a shot at it. I think, excuse me, under Article 4 of the Minamata Convention on Mercury, parties to the convention are required, if I'm not mistaken, by the year 2020, to not allow the manufacture, import, or export of mercury-added products which are listed in Annex A of the convention, and that's a long list of products. So parties to the convention are required to disallow it or to not allow the manufacture, import, or export of that long list of mercury-added products. Well, assuming that is done, the challenge then becomes, what about the products that are already manufactured and are already available on the market? The convention does not require parties to, sort of retire them or retrieve them or dispose of them. Personally, I deal with medical mercury-added products. As you know, I had a long history with WHO, and WHO requires encourages health authorities to retrieve from service or to retire from service mercury-containing medical devices. But that's a very expensive proposition for health authorities to do that, and they're not required to do it. It's a real challenge. But at least the manufacture, import, and export of mercury-added products listed in Annex A of the convention should stop by the year 2020. I don't know if I have answered the question adequately.
Thank you very much, Terence. And I think, yes, you.
Stephanie,
Yes.
may I? Yeah, please. Please.
Maybe, no, maybe the Nishikawa-san, maybe you know better than I do.
No, I just want to share some of the difficulty we face in phasing out the mercury-containing medical measuring devices. Even in Japan, the first difficulty is to identify where they are. So there are so many, and they are quite distributed in the market. So it is quite difficult or even impossible to know the very accurate inventory of where they are. So what we are doing is we are making a voluntary collection scheme so that with the cooperation of the hospitals, schools, and laboratories, so that they can voluntarily bring their, in partnership with the local government, so that they can bring their stocked medical devices, and then, yeah, we will have some good example and good practices in some cities, and try to disseminate those good practices for other cities as well. But another difficulty, especially in the developing countries, is that once we collect those mercury containing devices, what to do with them? So those collected without having a treatment option, they have to just store those collected materials and know where to go. So that is another big difficulty for developing countries. And then, as long as I know, there are several projects going on. Some of the project was funded by the Japan ASEAN Integration Fund, so that they are trying to develop the guidelines of how to collect those devices. But the next stage could be how to treat those collected devices in an environmentally sound manner.
Thank you so much, Terence. Junko. Mick, did you want to add on?
Yeah. So maybe I just want to address your question about the design stage, that design stage of the products or processes. So the mercury is a hazardous substances. So the design stage, if we to introduce any design concept, it's the mercury-free alternatives. It not mean the mercury products that has something better functions. So the point is that if we have the sufficient quality or the safety of this mercury free alternatives. This is the challenge and also the progress that we have made so far. And also at least the convention, I'm not sure that it's the mandatory clause, but the convention discourage to invent new mercury added products. So the mercury added products that exist need to be gradually replaced with the mercury free alternative. This is the our overall trend. So a bit different from this is circular economy that to put the mercury product to be recycled and reused. So we are rather discouraging the reuse of this product for other purposes. So this is a bit different concept for the 3R concept. And also the important thing is that the 3R is the kind of concept of the material flow. But for the mercury part, the mercury stock is pretty important because in our society, a huge amount of mercury product is already in the society. This is a kind of stock. And this stock need to be reduced. And then the flowing out of this stock, it's something that we need to deal with. That's why the mercury waste management becomes much more important. So this is the very specific nature of the mercury and the mercury waste management. Maybe this is just supplementing what the other colleagues have provided. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mick. And it's indeed true that in addition to the requirement for phase out and phase down under the Minamata Convention, there are other measures that require parties to prevent the incorporation into assembled products of mercury-added products that are which are not allowed, and to discourage the manufacture and distribution in commerce of mercury-added products that are unknown prior to the entry into force of the convention. So thank you all for your responses. And unless we have any other question at this stage, we will move to our next presenter, Mick Saito from the UNEP Regional Office for Asia and the Pacific, who will be presenting today on mercury science regulation and waste management. Dr. Mick Saito is an environmental engineer from Japan with special expertise on chemicals and waste management. In 2009, he joined UNEP as Program Management Officer for a Japan-funded mercury project, which supports the implementation of the Minamata Convention. And before joining UNEP, Mick worked with the Ministry of Environment of Japan, where he was very much involved in policy development of mercury management and also CyChem. He's been on the Bureau for the Conference of the Parties to the Minamata Convention and has implemented many technical assistance projects on environmental issues, especially when he worked for UNDP in the Solomon Islands, Cambodia, and Vietnam. And Mick holds a PhD in environmental engineering from Hokkaido University in Japan and is professional engineer in the state of Oregon. Mick, you have the floor, please.
Yes, thank you very much. So Terence, could you stop your screen? Okay, then I will share mine. By the way, thank you very much. My name is Mick Saito, working for the UNEP Regional Office in Asia and Pacific. So different from the other previous presentations, that my presentation is not about the Global Mercury Partnership itself, but rather a more general concept of the mercury science and as well as the waste management. And of course, this is the part of my view from the independent, not the independent, the mercury the expert, but it doesn't necessarily contradict to our UNEP policy, but maybe my point is a bit go beyond this the UNEP corporate concept. So now I'm still struggling to having my screen there because I don't have my. Let's see. Let's try first. I'm not sure that I'm sharing my screen or not.
You are sharing.
And then I will
your
turn
presentation
to
seems.
yeah, presentation mode.
But you're saying your
How is it?
the Zoom. You're sharing the Zoom window.
Okay, so maybe something different. Yeah, this is something that I need to ensure I'm sharing the right material. Okay, let's see. How's it?
Yes, now we're on your presentation. So you can
Okay,
put it
then
in presentation
the
mode.
presentation mode. How's it?
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So now I'd like to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about the mercury global mercury cycling in both the natural cycle and anthropogenic cycles. So in our right-hand side, it shows the natural cycles, and the other left-hand side is the anthropogenic the cycles. So, and also I put some mercury stock in some media, and you can easily find out that we have big mercury stock in ocean and the soil. So because this is different from the man-made chemicals like the plastic or PCB, the mercury is a chemical element, and that existed since the generation of the Earth. So this is different from the other the man-made pollutants. And this natural cycles, if you see this flow, emission and deposition, this is a quite significant amount of the mercury already circulated in the world, on the Earth. And in addition, anthropogenic activity increased our mercury global cycles from left-hand side, and the use, waste, and the recovery. This mercury cycles. This is our global mercury flow, and then our mercury management, mercury waste management means that to take out this mercury from this recovery process and bring it back to the disposal process. This is the meaning of the mercury waste management. And before talking about the waste management, I just briefly talk about the mercury use in historical manners. And the mercury has been used since the prehistoric Stone Age, like the red pigment or preservation of the coal with the dead bodies. But since the time goes, the mercury usage is a significantly increased for many purposes, and then the mercury demand is also increased, and then mercury mining is new mines also the open, and the production increased. So until the middle 20th centuries, mercury was in the trend for the increasing trend, and in the past maybe the 30 years or 40 years, we are now turned back to the reducing the mercury. So by the, for example, significantly by the Minamata Convention, as our colleague mentioned, there are many Annex A products that and processes that control and reduce the mercury use under the convention. So this is the pretty recent situation, comparing with the long history with the mercury supply and the use. I just want to skip here, and then I want to move on to the something that past future mercury supply and use on the left hand side, and the mercury emission on the right hand side. This pie chart, the size of the pie chart, it's relative to the actual volumes for 44,000 tons in supply and 2,000 tons for the emission, based on the mercury global assessment, global market assessment, and global mercury supply, trade, and demand. So if you see compare these two, ASGM gold mining sector has the biggest supply mercury usage, and also the biggest mercury emissions sectors. So this is the highest priorities. But if you see the other items, it's pretty different because this the mercury supply side, this is mostly the products and the processes. But this side, the emission side, the fossil fuel burning, non-ferrous metal, cement production, these are rather the unintentional emission. So these are the pretty different outlook. And it means that even though we stop using the mercury products or stop the mercury processes, the fossil fuel, I mean the coal combustion, non-ferrous metal, cement production, this emission doesn't change. So for the controlling the emission, maybe we need to think about something differently. And one thing that we can say is that this big chunk of the mercury products and the processes will be eventually disposed of, and from the waste sector, they will be emitted from the incineration plant or landfill site. So it means this big chunk will be sent to the waste facility, and the facility emit this one. This means that the waste management, it traps the big chunk, huge amount of the mercury from emission. So this is the role of the mercury waste management. And then now I'd like to a bit more moving to the actual cases. So we have two photos. One side the compare, and then the question mark has the which one is the good mercury waste management. It looks pretty clear, but maybe I need to examine for some point. For example, for the emission to the air, and the leachate, the leach to the water, and the worker health, workers on site, and also the other byproducts, such like fly ash or mercury sludge, or the waste sludge, or and so on. Then this slide shows the emission factors used for the global mercury assessment and the mercury inventory toolkits. This emission factors indicates, for example, that of course this is just the rough estimation. So this is just the reference values, not super accurate. But if you compare some figures, the waste incineration controls, the well-controlled installation, point 1, and unmanaged, the poor landfill facilities. These are the rather similar emission factors. In this bottom side is also the same mercury-specific, the good mercury incineration plant emission factor, and the informal dumping of the general waste. This is the same emission factors. For the other bad installation like uncontrolled emission and no emission reduction devices, this emission factor is almost equivalent to the open dumping, open burning of the landfill. So in terms of the mercury emissions, the good emission control facility is equivalent for the open dumping. And the bad installation plant is the equivalent to the open burning in terms of the air emission. And also we have the other for the release to the water and some byproducts of the from the incineration facilities. And then the actual case, how this open dumping or waste disposal facility in the developing country. This is the very, very few information. So I just take some example that taking from the survey activity conducted by Ministry of Environment Japan in 2018 and 19. We have 5 survey in the 5 waste disposal facilities in 5 developing countries. So this is just a summary of the result of the disposal. We are not explain detail, but just highlighting a few information extracted from them. Not necessarily it is a representative, but just give us some kind of impression that the image that we have extracted from this survey. In terms of the mercury emission, in the global mercury assessment, the emission from the open dumping is a range of the 10%. But if I see this actual survey site, this is about 1%. I mean, the actual emission from the site was less than the assessment. In terms of leachate water, actual quantity cannot be measured because of the we don't know the volume, the flow, outflow. But the Japanese effluent standard is 5,000 nanogram per liter. But all the site has less than the effluent standard. It means that this flow is not actually creating the some negative impact to the environment. And the ambient air, sometimes if you see, sometimes exceeding the Japanese ambient air guidelines. It means the emission hotspot because of this higher level of the mercury. But this is much below, lower than the workplace guideline by WHO in terms of the worker safety. And finally, the mercury hair for the workers. We also analyze the hair. And then if we compare with the mercury hair guiding values, they are below all their guideline values. So these are the results. Not necessarily this is the representative, but this is the result of the 5 disposal facilities. And come back to this the slide. Emission to the air, the control 10% and control 90%. This was the value, but the global. But for the open dumping, this is about 7 to 23% in the guideline, the assessment value. But the survey actually indicated 1%. comparing these values, it's much lower in terms of the emission. For the leachate, that's what below the Japanese standard. In terms of the worker health, this is the level that doesn't induce the health effect to the workers. And in terms of the fly ash or any byproducts, we have no survey, but just you may feel that the fly ash can be used for the fly ash cement or construction purposes. So if it contains the mercury, this will be exposed to the ambient for a long time. So if we compare these two, we cannot easily evaluate which one is the better in terms of the mercury management. But I'm not saying that the open dumping is preferable for the mercury management. No, because we have many different type of the problem for the this open dumping. One is the waste segregation, because this open dumping mixed all the mercury waste and the other waste, so everything is one. And also the waste combustion, the waste management open dumping often cause the waste combustion emission. So then these figures, the mercury is the chemical element, and it existed from the beginning, since the generation of the Earth. And also the living creatures also generated in the ocean that with the mercury existed. It means that our all the living creatures already knew that the mercury existed. It means that in the background level, the mercury exposure is already embedded in our genes. So we are already expected background level exposure for us. So this is the one thing that we are already knowing. We mean that our body already knowing the mercury. That's different from the new man-made anthropogenic waste, hazardous waste or hazardous substances. And another important point is that if you see this part, we have the mercury sink. So of course they have some emission, but also they have some sink. So source and sink, and then we have some kind of natural balancing this emission, the sink. But for this anthropogenic part, of course we have some the source, like the mining activities increase the mercury in the environment. But on the other hand, this disposer may provide us the sink. The final disposer is the mercury sink in this global mercury cycles. So this is the role of the mercury waste management to provide the global mercury, to provide the endpoint, the sink of mercury sink to the global mercury cycling. This is the purpose of the mercury waste management. So this is the I think a final slide. Waste management. It's the mercury waste management. It's waste management itself. So because the mercury, some specific mercury treatment technology exists, like we just hear from our colleagues. But more in general, that mercury management is something that to be included and integrated and into the waste management itself, like waste segregation or the waste control in the landfill, or the other controlling the open burning. It contribute not just for the mercury emission, but the POPs or PM also reduced if we control the mercury, stopping the open burning of the mercury, the waste. So we are always thinking about the co-benefit with the other pollutant or other textiles, and make it the mercury management, waste management is more efficient and effective. This is the end of my presentation, and thank you for your giving me the time. Okay, back to you, Stephanie.
Thank you so much, Mick. It was very interesting to see mercury waste management and disposal in the perspective of the global mercury cycle, and also having this historical perspective. And I'm sure the very interesting results would have provoked some thoughts among our audience when you compare the results between releases from open dumping and incineration. So I see already a question in the chat. Mick, I don't know if you would like to respond to it. There is a question. Alors, there is a question about mercury content of sludge from non-ferrous industry in Japan. I don't know if Mick would like to take the question, or Junko, and there is another question from Tracy. Hello. Thank you very much for the presentation. Being from a Pacific developing country, there is no such thing as segregation of wastes. However, all wastes are disposed together in the open dump sites, and burning takes place.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. So this is a bit beyond my presentation, but as long as I know for the question from the Mr. Lee about the mercury contents of the sludge from the incineration plant. I have not much idea like the fly ash, but in terms of the mercury containing sludge from the non-ferrous metal smelting, big amount of the mercury has been recovered from the sludge containing mercury, especially from the zinc smelting facilities, as long as I know. And for the, I think the question is that if the sludge, not sludge, is the mercury waste or not mercury waste. It depends on the threshold of the mercury contents. This is still under discussion. And if the sludge becomes the mercury waste, this falls under the mercury waste control management. And if it's below the threshold, this is just a normal sludge, normal waste that going to the normal waste management. So it depends on the discussion for the mercury waste threshold, especially for this mercury the sludge. In terms of the this next question of the maybe from Tracy.
This question: is there a different approach for wastes in open space and those that is dumped in the rivers?
Running tech-based development mercury emission. Is there any different approach to waste open space and to dump in the river? Dumping in the rivers. In the you mean in the Pacific? Mean that the small island countries, they have the very limited dumping site, and also low-lying space with the very vulnerable for the flooding or very easily to this waste will be impacting the freshwater resources. So this is the not the mercury waste management problem, but the waste management problem itself. So that's why instead of just in terms of the mercury, but rather we say the how we do this the mercury the waste management in the developing countries. Not easy solution, but at least in terms of the mercury part, the waste segregation. It's mercury doesn't exist in the normal household, I mean the garbage, the food waste, and then pretty specific for the fluorescent lamp, batteries, or thermometers. So maybe this segregation, it's really important for mercury waste management. But this doesn't resolve the entire problem for the small island countries. So this is rather the because I'm not the waste management specialist, because of my background is mercury chemical management. So this part maybe the waste management specialist can give you better answer or suggestion.
Thank you so much, Mick, and thank you for reiterating the importance of segregation indeed. Yeah. I think we're unfortunately already getting close to the end of our session. So unless there is any burning question.
Stephanie, sorry, may I just a quick question to Mick?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, Mick-san, thank you so much for a very interesting presentation. I think some data and information are very new to me. Yeah, so just let me ask a quick question about your mercury emission factors, which you showed. Yeah, so just let me confirm about your interpretation about the impact of the open disposal site as well as the proper incineration. So can we consider that so far based on the actual data? So open disposal site is not really impacted to the environment. Can I say like that? And also as for the proper incineration, so this is still we need to encourage to the operators to try to reduce the emission because of a similar impact with the open disposal site, which is very interesting data. Over to you, Mick-san. Thank you.
The figure says so, but in reality I don't know, because these emission factors for the both global mercury assessment and the inventory toolkit has been developed by the experts of these particular sectors.
Yep.
And then I just extracted, and then I put my own interpretation of this.
Yeah.
So that's why this is the pretty, because for mercury, burning is the very, very bad practice.
Yeah.
Because because of the low boiling point. So non-burning treatment is always better treatment for mercury management. So I'm not sure that if we can, the installation facility can further reduce the mercury emission just for the technology development, but rather the segregation. I mean, the avoid the mercury inflow to the plant. It's a much more important. If we have the proper segregation at the source, if no mercury comes in, no mercury flows out. So technology development, rather we encourage this mercury, not mercury, that the segregation schemes, improving and the implementing in the country or in the facility or the area of the collection site location will much improve for the mercury emission from the incineration facility, I assume. But for the open dumping itself, it's not a big mercury emission, but open burning, spontaneous open combustion happening unintentionally, this effect is very significant. So normal open dumping and controlled dumping site cannot stop this spontaneous open burning. So that's why this is also the very bad practice. And the same thing, even for the open dumping, the segregation, if no mercury flow comes in, no mercury comes out. In both cases, the segregation is the utmost importance for the mercury management, I assume.
Yep. Thank you very much, Mick-san. They are very interesting and suggestive. Thank you, Mick-san and Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to both of you, and I think, Mick, your presentation has provoked some thoughts in our audience, because I see a similar question in the chat on how open burning and incineration emissions could be equivalent. I know that we have a number of partners attending also the meeting, so do not hesitate to exchange it further and continue the discussion in the chat on this very interesting point. So maybe I would suggest we give the floor to Ms. Junko Nishikawa from the Ministry of Environment of Japan for some closing remarks on this very interesting discussion. Ms. Junko Nishikawa has over 20 years of experience in policy development and project management in Japan, but also abroad with a special focus on waste and chemical management. And in the Ministry of Environment of Japan, Ms. Nishikawa played an active role in the international policymaking process and the Basel Convention and the Montreal Protocol, and managed regional and bilateral projects, especially in Asia and the Pacific region. So, Ms. Nishikawa,
yes,
please,
Stephanie, thank you very much. Yes. So before making a closing remarks, I just want to come back to the last question of the open burning and incineration. That's theoretically, I think the emission level could be different if the incineration facility has a treatment facility of the emission gas. So that could be the difference. Without having any emission gas treatment, then the emission level could be equivalent. But with proper technology installation, we can reduce or minimize the emission of the mercury into the air. So then, as our closing remarks, I want to thank all the panelists for the very insightful presentation, and also all the participants who kindly share with be with us to listen to those great discussion and joining these great discussions. So I want to try to summarize some of the key essence from the presentation, or what is the takeaways. And I will start from the last presenter's Mick. So I love to listen to his great insightful presentation, starting from the history of the human history. So what we learned is that mercury was there with us from the origin of our history, and then but the difference is we dig the mercury from the ground with the advancement of the technology and also with the advancement of the demands for mercury. So we are providing more and more mercury above the ground. So we need to manage those mercury in an environmentally sound manner, and we need to find a way how to coexist with them. And also he highlighted very important points that the waste management is crucial, but it could be both potential as well as a risk. If the waste is not managed properly, then all the mercury which was contained in the products and processes will be eventually emitted into the environment. But on the other hand, if the waste is properly managed, those contained mercury could be kept contained and then kept controlled in a way that human and other organisms will not be harmed by the mercury. So in the ways that he always emphasized the importance of the mercury waste management, and then I really want to echo that. And for the Terence presentation, we hear the very good news that the fact sheet is now being developed and then good progress is going on. And the fact sheet will provide a very practical hands-on knowledge on what to do for the environmental sound management of the mercury waste. Because, as he mentioned, the technical guideline we have under the Brazil Convention, but it could be very theoretical. So we should have more resource materials for the practitioners, what to do and how to do for the mercury, for the specific waste stream. So we should be aware of the update, and then any of the product could be will be uploaded on the website of the UNEP Global Mercury Partnership. So please check on that. And then if you want to share any insights, knowledge, and resources for the work, we are always welcome to join, have the new partners, and then we can work together to developing this very important documents. And coming back to the presentation from Taiko-san as well as Stephanie, what we know is the feature of the waste management areas partnership is that we have a very great diversity of the stakeholders, and as well as the regional representation. And so the partnership is working very innovative manner that to connect two conventions, the Brazil Convention as well as the Minamata Convention, and then try to find the solutions in between those conventions requirements. And also it will broaden the boundary from the government stakeholders into the private sector, academics, IGO, NGOs, so that we can have a collective knowledge and also find a way in a joint manner. So again, I'm really glad to be the member of this waste management area as a lead country, and always invite anyone who want to join the partnership. We are always welcome. And not only the organization, but also the individual can participate in the partnership. And it's a voluntary commitment, and whatever you need, you think important for the solution of this mercury issue, you can propose actions and you can propose activities, and then we have many volunteers who will support you to undertake those activities and actions. So that's a quite active and interesting partnership, I think. So I'm very much pleased to have an opportunity to share some of the updated actions and what to come next for this partnership activities. And yeah, let's keep in touch and we can have more discussion on this if you're interested in. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Nishikiwa, for these very inspiring words, and congratulations again on the leadership role that the government of Japan and the Ministry of Environment are playing on this issue of mercury and the sound management of mercury waste. So congratulations again, and thank you all for your active participation in this creative session. It was a real pleasure to be with you all today to discuss this important topic. Thank you very much, and thank you to the organizers, of course, and to Ms. Azari. Thank you.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you to all our dear panelists, of course.